In a peaceful village near a dense forest, there lived two siblings called Hansel and Gretel. They were well known throughout the village for their strong bond and joyful nature. They brought happiness to everyone they met, and their laughter echoed through meadows as they played together. Their love for each other was unbreakable. The village Hansel and Gretel lived in used to be lively and full of life. But it fell on hard times. Their parents struggled to provide them with food. Their stepmother, who was as cold-hearted as the surrounding forest, decided to send the children into the woods to find their own food. Though hesitant, the siblings knew they had to be strong and resourceful to survive. Their father, who loved them dearly, was aware of the challenges his children would face on their journey. He gathered their remaining food and advised them,
"Children, no matter where you go, never forget who you are. You are strong and clever, and most importantly, you have each other. Trust in yourselves and you will find your way back."
Two siblings ventured into the snowy forest. Hansel dropped breadcrumbs on the ground to leave a trail behind them, hoping to find their way back home. Unfortunately, the birds ate all the crumbs, leaving the children alone and lost in the woods. Hansel and Gretel came across a magical bird that helped them find a house made entirely of candy. The walls were made of gingerbread and the roof was made of icing, giving off an enchanting scent that made their stomach growl with hunger. It was a dream come true for the two children. The bird chirped and flapped its wings, enticing Hansel and Gretel to come closer. They couldn't resist taking a bite of the house. The gingerbread walls were soft and warm, and the icing roof was as sweet as honey. The eyes widened with wonder as they savored each delicious bite of the candy house. Suddenly, an old woman with a warm smile opened the creaky door and invited the lost siblings inside. She introduced herself as Mrs. Candy and she was kind and gentle. She felt sorry for the lost siblings and invited them to stay in her humble home. Hansel and Gretel were greeted by the wonderful smell of freshly cooked food. A wooden table was in front of them, covered in range of delicious treats, bowls of milk, stacks of pancakes, sweet apples, and various nuts. The children were amazed and delighted by the feast before them. Hansel and Gretel couldn't believe their luck. Mrs. Candy then led Hansel and Gretel to two beds with fresh linens. The beds were so inviting that the siblings felt like they were dreaming. The soft sheets and warm atmosphere made them feel like they were in heaven as they drifted off to sleep. The next morning, Hansel woke up inside a small stable. He realized he was locked inside, trapped by sturdy wooden bars. He gradually regained his senses and discovered that Mrs. Candy was actually a wicked witch who had a sinister appetite for children. Her plan was to fatten him up by feeding him well, making her feast even more satisfying. Gretel was forced to work tirelessly, cooking and cleaning for Mrs. Candy. Gretel was afraid for her brother's life as they were both trapped by the wicked witch. This sweet cottage held dark secrets that the children had unknowingly walked into. Hansel, a quick thinker, came up with a plan. He heard the witch complaining about her poor eyesight and saw a chance to escape. When she asked him to show his finger to check if he was getting fatter, he gave her a thin bone instead to trick her. The witch became impatient and decided to cook Hansel because she thought he was taking too long to fatten up. Gretel, who was clever and resourceful, saw an opportunity. Gretel told the witch to check if the oven was hot enough to boil water. The witch, though suspicious, agreed to look inside. As she opened the oven door to check the temperature, Gretel pushed her inside with a strong push and closed the door quickly. After defeating the witch, Hansel and Gretel found a chest full of treasures in the fingerbread house. They packed their new wealth and started their journey home. Hansel and Gretel walked for many days, following the North Star until they reached the village. When they arrived, their stepmother had left and their father welcomed them with tears of joy. The three of them lived happily ever after.